Hello and welcome to Gazzetta Football Korea, your beginner's guide podcast all about South Korean football. I'm your host, Martin Jones. With me today are Korean football experts Tom Clark. All right, Tom?
Hi, mate. Nice to be here, and lovely to see Yumi as well.
And Korean football expert Yumi. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. Hi guys, nice to see you again.
Yumi, tell us where you are.
I am at Leicester at the King Power Stadium for the final game of the season for Leicester and Manchester United for that final Champions League spot.
I hope you're not going to have to be quarantining when you get home after travelling into the danger area of Leicester.
Yeah, are they going to let you leave?
Yeah, I don't need to self-isolate, thankfully, but I'll be careful.
Yeah, of course, as we record this on the day the English Premier League is drawing to a conclusion. Where are you going to get your football now? Well, South Korea, of course, as K-League is all guns blazing. What do we have for you this week? Well, talking of guns blazing, a big statement win for Ulsan Hyundai, a goal-scoring debut for Jeonbuk's Gustavo. Incheon upset the odds again, and have Suwon Blue Wings finally turned the corner after sacking Lee Lim Sang. We'll also look forward to a set of interesting games in Gameweek 14, not least a big clash between Jeonbuk and Pohang. First of all, though, we've got some FA Cup action, Tom, midweek. Bring us up to speed on that.
Yeah, so we've got the quarterfinals up this week, and it's Busan versus Jeonbuk, Songnam taking on Suwon, Seoul versus Pohang, and Ulsan Gangwon. So all K1 teams, and all the games are going to be played Wednesday at either 11 or 11:30 a.m. UK time. I'm saying 3 comfortable wins for Jeonbuk, Pohang, and Ulsan. But I think there's a real chance for either Songnam or Suwon. Obviously, a semi-final spot's up for grabs, but I think there's a chance for them to push on a little bit with that as well. And particularly Songnam, and I'm not saying this because I want it to be Songnam. I'm saying this because in a cup game, in a one-off game, a team who keep a lot of clean sheets, they can nick a goal, good at set pieces, or like they did versus Daegu in the last round, penalty shootouts. And it's a chance for a trophy for Songnam. Maybe a bit of wishful thinking, with the quality of Ulsan and Jeonbuk, but it's a chance nonetheless. Yumi, what do you reckon about the FA Cup? Do you think, can you see anybody other than Ulsan or Jeonbuk winning it?
I mean, because it's the cup, anything can happen, I think. I think everyone's going to predict that it's going to be Ulsan or Jeonbuk, but I think teams like Songnam or Suwon, as you say, I think they can really kind of get a hand in that game, and you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's certainly worth looking out for the midweek. If you do want to get a football fix, with the Premier League ending this weekend, you can have a Wednesday morning our time, or if you're in Korea, a Wednesday evening, couple of matches before the Champions League gets run in a few weeks.
Yeah, thanks very much. Look forward to those FA Cup games, and listener will, of course, bring you up to speed in all of those in next week's pod. First of all, though, Yumi, some big transfer news in K1.
Yeah, big news for Korean fans. It's Ki Sung-young, who's a national hero. Obviously, he was captain of the national team. He's retired from the national team now, but it looks like he's going to play his kind of final career days at FC Seoul, where he actually started. So it's good news for Korean fans. So we're welcoming it.
How many years do you reckon he's got left in him?
I still think he's got a couple of years, like 2 or 3 years left in him. Whenever I spoke to him, he doesn't have that kind of extra motivation like that he used to have. Like when he was younger, he used to be like, I want to get like a trophy, going to maybe a Europa League or Champions League team if he's lucky. Like he wanted those trophies, but he's kind of lost that now. I think he's like been there, done that and everything. He's more kind of happily kind of settled with his family. He just wants like a stable kind of club where he can play. Obviously, he doesn't want to spend his last career days like on the bench. So I think FC Seoul, I think everyone was going to predict he's going back to FC Seoul just because of the contract that they have before he left. So I think it's a good move for him and for Seoul. Obviously, they're not the Seoul that used to be when he left. So don't know how much he can bring to the team, but it's going to be definitely big change in the Korean league.
He's going to shine in that team as by far the best player. But the problem is, I think FC Seoul currently so bad, he can't take them from 10th, 11th to first or second anytime soon. He will help them. He'll play probably, he's not going to be mobile. Well, in my opinion, not going to be box to box, but he'll be sitting there in front of that back four and looking to dictate everything. He's got that Hollywood pass on him, type of thing that we used to say about Steven Gerrard. He does have that lovely long pass, and I think he'll control the tempo of the game very well. And he'll need some legs beside him in that midfield. I think, somebody to do his running. But because of that, I think that could extend his career if he's got somebody young or someone fit beside him to make up for what he doesn't have. What he has is so much better than what most teams in the league have. So you mentioned his family there, Yumi. Do you know if they've been in Seoul now for a while, or if they were with him in Spain, or do you know what happened when they moved?
They kind of went back and forth. His wife is a very famous actress in Korea, so she had the drama to shoot as well, and they obviously have a daughter as well. So they've been back and forth. But once Spain was in lockdown and he was quarantined, then they were in Korea, as I understand. Yeah, so he was alone in Spain during that whole lockdown.
Yumi, I was looking up Key's background, and I didn't know this before, but he spent several of his teenage years at high school in Australia.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was with his connections from his father, who's also in football as well. He's the chairman of the Gwangju kind of football kind of department there as well. So it was connections with him. I think it was actually several of them who went on the same program. But Key obviously was the most successful, and that's actually why he speaks very good English. Very good English.
He's also played. So he's played in Australia and learned English there, and he's played in Glasgow, and he's played in Swansea, and he's played up in the northeast. What on earth does his English accent sound like?
It's a bit of all. It's all mixed, isn't it?
Yeah, we have heard him interviewed in English, and it is. His English is like fluent and perfect, but you can hear a little bit of. It's more for me. It's the phrases rather than the actual accent. He has a phrase, especially football wise. You do hear him. I assume when you've spoken to him, it's always been in Korean.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Have you heard him speak
English? I've only heard him from interviews or when he was giving interviews to English press. But he's very good. He's one of the better kind of English speakers in the. He was one of the better English speakers in the national team. In Wales, he said when people started speaking Welsh, he wouldn't understand what they were talking about. It kind of stopped them going out too much in Wales. They kind of stayed at home mostly.
So do you know if his wife and children, if they settled in England, if they liked it here, or his wife was obviously the actress, so she was often back in Korea. But did they living over here?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, she also always told me because they came to our church whenever they were in London as well, and they've made some good friends. And Key and his wife, they were kind of made quite high up in the Korean church in Newcastle, I heard. So he became something. I don't know what it is in English, but
a church elder or something.
Yeah, something like that. And he had to take care of all the kind of youngsters in that church, and they went on trips together with that church. So they're both very Christian as well. So I think that kind of helped having Korean kind of church in the town as well. So I think they did a lot with them.
That provides you with a community and a group of friends kind of away from football as well. So, when after the first couple of weeks, he's the superstar, but then, after 2 or 3 weeks, he just becomes a member of the community.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know if any of the other Korean players had that when they were down in London, like Sun Hyun-min or
Lee Young-pyo, going back even further?
Lee, who I was thinking of, obviously, is a Spurs fan.
Very Christian. Yeah, he's very dedicated to the church. And I remember whenever he came to our restaurant, which was every twice a month, 3 times a month, something like that. He would always, whenever he came on a Sunday, he would kind of come and then after his meal sign autographs and everything. But exactly at 2 o'clock, he would rush off to the church. So it happened every week. He was never late for church. So he was always saying, sorry, I have to stop at 2 on the dot because I have to get to the church by 2:10. So he was very dedicated to the church. I don't think Son Heung-min said he didn't have a religion, so he doesn't have that kind of community with alongside him. Park Ji-sung also, he was a Buddhist, but there's not really a Korean kind of community here. So yeah, I think Lee Young-pyo was the main one.
I guess that probably helps players settle in when you can go into a Korean church or community. Obviously, it doesn't have to be a religious thing, but it's a community of people. Like, you know, where your family's restaurant. When I've come down and met you and had a meal with you guys, it is like you get off the train and it is like you're in Seoul. It's what, a 15-minute walk from the station to your restaurant, and it was just supermarket, coffee shop. Everything is Korean, and it's great. I mean, that's great for me coming back to London and having that. I remember having a chat with your mum and just constantly coming out with dishes of food for us. I can't wait for Martin to come and enjoy it. And when your mum's back in England, we'll come and meet her again.
She does that a lot. I remember when Lee Chung-young used to come, he would order like one dish each for him and his manager, and it would like turn into a buffet because of my mum. She was a huge Lee Chung-young fan.
What she did for me, didn't she?
It was just a never-ending course after course after course.
Yeah,
and she wouldn't let them pay either. So
I know. I remember we ordered a galbi tang and maybe a hamel pageant, I think, and then she just brought out so much extra and all the side dishes, and then we asked for the bill and it was like £10 each. And we're like, well, this isn't right. And your mum's like, no, it's okay.
Very good. A little insight in there into life as a Korean footballer in the UK. Thanks very much, Yumi. So you've got a couple of things to do, but then we'll catch up with you a little bit later for the predictions. But let's now focus on our Game Week 13 recap coming up after this.
So, Martin, this week we're doing things a little bit differently because I had a bit of a scheduling conflict. So you were the main man on Saturday covering everything. So we're going to start with Sangju versus Ulsan, which we said last week would be the biggest game of the weekend, and it certainly turned out to be. It was Sangju in third versus Ulsan, who of course were top of the league. Sangju were form team in the division, really. They'd only conceded once in their last 6, and that was a random last-minute equaliser off Incheon. And Ulsan have just got the best attack in the league, most prolific, juniors banging them in for fun. And that trend continued here, didn't it, as they won 5-1?
It did indeed, yeah. We've had a lot of slow starts in K1 recently. Not here, though. And this was a theme across K1 this whole game week. Last game week, we only had 10 goals, full stop. This week, we had 10 goals just in the first halves of this week's games, and that's the second highest tally since game week 10, which you'll remember was the game where it just went crazy and there were 28 goals throughout the whole game week. So yeah, good to see some first half goals, and this one started super fast, and it was actually Sangju who took the lead on this one after 4 minutes. We've been talking up Ulsan goalkeeper Jo Hyun-woo last week, and one of the better keepers, if not the best keeper, but bit of an error on this one. I think just caught a bit cold. Kimbo sub from Sangju with your classic kind of test the keeper early doors long shot. It must have been about 35 yards. He did hit it quite well, to be honest, but it wasn't in the corner. Joe saved it, but he palmed it right back into the danger zone, which we've seen quite a bit. And then Kang Sang-woo tapped in for the opener. So yeah, that's how this game started off. And then you're thinking, oh, this is interesting. Sangju going ahead, but then Ulsan clicked into gear, and only 10 minutes later, Kim In-sung equalised for Ulsan, wide left attacker, and he's normally the one providing the ammunition, and he's their top assister, but he got onto the score sheet. Through ball stabbed into the box by Ko Myung-jin, and good composure by Kim to lift it over the keeper. And then literally just 3 minutes later, Ulsan go ahead through junior who else Negrao. Good pass from the right back Sol Young-woo, and he took 4 Sangju players out of the game, and there wasn't really much urgency in the recovery by Sangju, which was a bit surprising. And Junior had loads of time. Defender came sliding in, slightly kind of rashly, I think. And then Junior just kind of cut back inside on his left foot and nutmegged the keeper. So, good finish by Junior. And then at that point, I was watching this thinking, well, Sangju, only 3 times this season have they scored more than 1 goal in a match, and they've never scored more than 2. So just looking at this thinking the next goal is really going to be crucial. And it went to Ulsan. And Junior, again, who else in the ground just before half-time, Shin Jin-ho, captain, centre midfielder, pulls the strings for Ulsan. Tried playing a through ball and the defender got his toe to it and it kind of ran loose, but Junior ran onto it. First touch looks to have gone a bit wide, but finished well. So it went Ulsan 3, Sangju 1 at half-time.
Junior just has that, doesn't he? You know, even if it comes off a defender or the keeper palms it out or it hits the post, it just always seems to fall at his feet. It's just, you know, he's got a knack. He reads the game so well. He knows where the second ball is going to be, which, you know, once or twice in a season looks like luck. But when it happens week in, week out, it's just intelligent knowing, you know, where the ball's going to fall.
Yeah, I mean, I think for him, it's exactly that. And it's his speed of thought. He just sees the game so much quicker than everybody else, and he's got the technical ability as well to capitalise. He just seems to come alive in that final third. So Sangju really needed to try and do something to get back into this. They brought on Moon Sun Min, who's probably one of their better players, but has been used mainly as a sub. It's mainly been Kimbo's sub, who wasn't a sub, who started, and Kang Sang-woo, who've been in good form out wide. So Moon's just been coming on as a sub, but he couldn't really do too much. And then just before the hour mark, Ulsan scored their 4th, or rather it was scored for them because it was an own goal. Kim Jin-hyuk, really good cross from the Ulsan right back, Sol Young-woo, for his 2nd assist, if you like. Junior was lurking, not too much that Kim could have done really. He needed to intercept it, running back towards goal. It was in that kind of that cliche kind of corridor of uncertainty, and Kim ended up putting it into his goal. And the game was definitely over at that point. Junior was taken off straight away after that, probably with one eye on the cup game coming up midweek. Just going back to the keeper, Joe. I mean, he was at fault for the goal, but he did make a couple of really good saves in the second half, so he did kind of atone for it. There was a red card late on for a Sangju player, which I totally missed. I keep missing all these red cards, all these games, but game was already petering out. And then 4 minutes before the end, icing on the cake, Lee Dong-kyung cutting in from the right-hand side for Ulsan, just curled it left-footed into the top corner, and Sangju had just totally given up by then.
You know, listening to you, catching the highlights, I was really surprised with Sangju and how uncompetitive they seemed. Was that something that stood out for you when you were watching it yesterday?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was a disappointing showing from them. That they were more passive than I've seen them for a while, particularly in defence. And they've only conceded 16 goals this season, and they have the most clean sheets in the league, which is really great going. But I checked the stats afterwards, and 56% of Sangju's goals conceded have come courtesy of Ulsan. That was great. I mean, they have played Ulsan twice, and Ulsan are the top scorers, but 26% of goals conceded were in that game against Pohang, and then only 19% from the other 9 teams combined. So Sangju don't lose often, but when they do, they lose big. And they also now have negative goal difference, which is quite surprising to see in the top 4. So just kind of makes you wonder how sustainable their form is. But I think really, though, this was a statement by Ulsan to go a goal down early doors to a team with a good defence, but within 15 minutes, they've taken the lead and they ended up 5-1 winners. And Ulsan were generally, they didn't feel the need to press too high. They let Sangju move the ball around, and Sangju shaded the possession, certainly in the first half at least. But you look at this Ulsan team at this stage of the season, and you just think they just know that they're so prolific going forwards. And when they attacked and they transitioned into the final third, they kind of went one or two ways. So they either just kind of held onto the ball and just kind of kept possession for a bit when they needed to take the sting out of the play, or they could just go for that killer pass, which they did on several occasions and scored. And they've scored 4 goals on 3 occasions now. But this is the first time they've scored 5 goals this season, which is some statement against the Sangju Sangmu team, who are good defensively, and they're not conceding many either. And this Ulsan team are hugely impressive right now.
Yeah, they really are, aren't they? And they're absolutely flying. You just can't see anybody beating them right now. And I bet they wish that they had Jeonbuk coming up this weekend, rather than a few weeks down the line. They'd love to take them on right now with the form they're in. But that will have to wait, and looking forward to it when it does come round. So that one finished Sangju 1, Ulsan 5, which was we predicted Ulsan winning, but I didn't see a 4-goal win. And of course that sees Sangju drop down to 4th from the 3rd that they came into the game, and Ulsan obviously remain top of the league. And one of the other games that was on at Saturday that you were dual screening with was Gwangju versus Suwon, and I don't think we expected a huge amount from this game going into it, so I don't think we're going to be surprised when you tell me about it, having again only caught the highlights and read a little bit. So, Gwangju were in 9th, Suwon in 10th. Neither had won in their last 5 games. Two teams who give the impression that possibly, next week might be their week. They might have a big one and then it doesn't happen. But, well, it did happen for Suwon in a way. They got a win anyway. It was a 1-0 win.
Yeah, 1-0 win for Suwon and deserved, I think. No Lee Lim Sang in charge of Suwon anymore, of course, and it was his assistant Ju Sung Jin in charge. Switched from a back 3 to a back 4 in a 4-1-4-1 formation. No Taggart up front for Suwon. Not sure why. I think presumably must have been injured. The other big changes was they dropped the goalkeeper No Dong Gon for Yang Hyung Mo, who will come back to. And Gwangju, the home team, they were playing their first game in their new home stadium, having moved from the 40,000 Goose Hiddink World Cup Stadium. So we won't get to mention Goose Hiddink anymore.
Well, it's in the same complex.
Yes, it is. Yeah, mixed reaction, I think, on Twitter to the new stadium. It still does have a running track, but it does have some stands they can move over the running track. But
yeah, what do you think of it? I mean, I agree with a fair few of the people who've commented on it that the main stand looks nice enough, but the other 3, it's just 3 temporary, although they're permanent, but temporary stands just plonked on the running track, which obviously full it'll be better because you're much closer to the pitch, but there's no covers, which I think are being built later on. But God, if it was open right now with the heat and the sun you get in Korea, I would not want to be sitting in an open stand. And I think because they had to stay on that complex, I think it's a solution. It's an acceptable solution, but it's not ideal. It's not great. It doesn't look particularly nice.
No, but then again, you don't want to see. And we spoke about this, I think, kind of at the beginning of the season, in the context of Incheon and other teams where they've moved out of these World Cup stadiums where they were just rattling around in them and it didn't look great. But it's a bit weird now because all of the stadiums are empty. So that's kind of what we're used to. That's certainly what I'm used to. I've never known anything different in K1. But I thought the new stadium looked okay from TV. It doesn't look great when you zoom out and see the higher up pictures.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Like when we saw the pictures that were on Twitter, it was like a bird's eye view of it, and it did not look great. But when you see it from the TV angle, then it doesn't look so bad. But I think they've done well. It's a solution of sorts, and I think probably very hard to tell until it's full. And it might actually get full, whereas the World Cup Stadium would never ever get anywhere close to full, which not their fault. It's far too big a stadium for them. So maybe with fans it could be a good answer.
Yeah, but it certainly didn't help them today, though. As they lost. I mean, the Ulsan Sangju game.
The fact that we've spent the last 3 or 4 minutes talking about the stadium rather than game maybe sums the game up.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly the first half, nothing going on in the first half, which was fine because I was watching the 30 goals happening in the Ulsan Sangju game. But yeah, it got a bit friskier in the second half, and we had a goal 5 minutes into second half coming from Suwon. Lim Sang-hyub intercepted a kind of a mishit clearance and squared it to Park Sang-hyuk on the edge of the box, who just kind of shaped a nice kind of left-footed shot curling into the bottom left corner, which was a nice finish. Probably the only real moment of quality in that game. Gwangju almost went down the other end and scored. Some good goal line defending. Defender taking a boot in the head from Felipe for his trouble. Felipe header Could have gone, well, went to VAR as it might have been handled by Daniil Henry, but correctly, no pen. And it just kind of went like that. Both teams just trading a couple of half chances, but otherwise Suwon happy to sit deep and hit Gwangju on the break. And I guess with Suwon, Daniil Henry, big strapping centre-back, so he's probably more equipped, you would think, than most K1 defenders to deal with Gwangju's 6'4" talisman Felipe, who I think the other week you mentioned he's a big striker, and I hadn't realised how big it is, and he just seems to get bigger every time I see him on TV now. But Daniil Henry kept him quiet. Late red card for Gwangju's Rustam Ashamatov. So I was going full Chris Kamara because I completely missed this red card as well. But I think overall, I mean, two teams in 9th and 10th for good reason. I think what fans will find a bit frustrating with these teams is they've both got very good striker. Gwangju have got Felipe and Suwon have got Taggart, but they're just struggling to get service to them. Coming back to the Suwon keeper, Yang Hyung-mo, back in the team, claimed a cross under duress from Felipe early on, took a big knock. So I think Felipe was just a bit of a wrecking ball in this game. He made a couple of good saves as well, Yang did, in both halves, got the clean sheet. I think No Dong-gon, I can't remember if he's in the Tom Clark goalkeeper doghouse. I've lost track. There's just so many.
I mean, I think at one point or other in this season, pretty much every single one of them has been. But I actually do remember early in the season, No making a couple of fantastic saves too. He's an experienced keeper. I mean, yeah, he has a mistake in him, but he also has a good save in him as well. So, but like you say, I think I've picked out so many different keeping errors that they've all blurred into one. I actually can't remember if I have, and I'm sure I have. And if I haven't, I'm sure I could go back and find one for you.
But yeah, otherwise, I think Suwon will be pretty happy with that. I think tactically, they got it spot on. They looked more organised than I've seen them for ages. And Gwangju were pressing for a goal. Obviously, Gwangju not the most potent attack, but Suwon were pretty comfortable and they looked pretty good on the break as well. Gwangju, next up for them is a big game against Incheon, which will be I was going to say exciting, maybe not exciting, but really intriguing fixture, let's say. Suwon, though, they've got a tough little run coming up after this. Daegu, Ulsan, and Jeonbuk in the league, that is. So, we'll see if this kind of new manager bounce, if you like, carries on through those games. Yeah,
absolutely. It's going to be tough for Suwon in the league for the next 3 games. Gwangju, Incheon, I think that could be interesting. Again, not sure if I agree. Well, I do agree with you that it might not be a fantastic watch, but it will be an interesting watch for sure. So, that one finished Gwangju 0, Suwon 1, and it takes Gwangju from 9th down a spot into 10th, and it takes Suwon up a spot from 10th into 9th. Much of a muchness between these two teams, I think. The final game on Saturday was my team Songnam versus Gangwon, and I caught the first half of this live, and I rewatched the second half later on when I was sat in the pouring rain, having got out and needing to fill a bit of time. So it was like, why not? Let's go back and watch a little bit of the football.
Yeah, that's it. Songnam were in 8th coming into this game, a win, 2 draws and a loss from their last 4. Seem to be maybe getting back on an even keel after a horrible run of losses for the Magpies. Gangwon in 7th, 1 point ahead. And they, of course, got that big 4-1 win versus Gwangju 2 weeks ago and only lost 1-0 to Ulsan last weekend, which these days looks like not too bad a result. Tom, the prediction king, you said on the pod last week, Songnam to keep Gangwon quiet and probably nick a 0-0, and that's what happened.
Yeah, it's like I watch Songnam every week, isn't it? And actually, if anything, it's probably Gangwon who nicked the draw rather than Songnam. Songnam were the better team. In the first half in particular, Gangwon did have more possession. I don't know the exact statistics. That's just from the eye test. But from the eye test, it was Gangwon in more possession, creating absolutely nothing, though, like nothing. Songnam, when they did attack and when they got set pieces, that's when they looked dangerous. They won the first header or the first flick or the first touch in nearly every free kick or corner. Didn't get their chances on target, but looked dangerous from them. Na Sang-woo had a half decent chance for Songnam in the first half. He was coming in at the hour and he went for power, which is probably the right decision when you're at that angle. It was a decent save. The keeper palmed it over the top. It was just purely the pace that he got got on, it would have been the only way to beat the keeper from there. So, credit to him, it's a decent save. Songnam again had the better of the chances in the second half. Na Sang-eun in particular, he looks the best player on the pitch. A nice build-up play, and then there was another Songnam shot that went just wide of the far post. But that's kind of it, really. There wasn't much else to talk about in this game. Gangwon did not threaten. Songnam were the better of the two teams, but that's what Songnam have, is that they have this solid defence, and if they could get a striker in, or I don't know, maybe something more creative in midfield, then they'd be looking further up the table. But I don't think they'll be disappointed with a draw with a team who are above them in the league, not looking in any danger. Songnam have been caught by Incheon, in my opinion. 0-0, kind of. I don't really have anything else to say on this game, Martin.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. Your final score there: Songnam 0, Gangwon 0. Songnam stay 8th, but I've got a game against FC Seoul on the horizon next weekend. Gangwon actually move up a place to 6th. Moving on to Sunday. Let's start with Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors versus FC Seoul. Jeonbuk second top, FC Seoul second bottom. FC Seoul continuing to ship goals. Jeonbuk, somewhat remarkably, without a win in 3 games. So Seoul at home seemed to be the ideal fixture for them, especially with Pohang and Daegu coming up. Is that how it went, Tom?
Yeah, that's exactly how it went. I mean, if you were looking for a game to define comfortable, then this was it. Yeah, Seoul offered nothing, absolutely nothing going forward, and little resistance at the back. It's a pretty dire combination. Han Gyo-won got an early goal. He was just the quickest to react after Seoul keeper Yang Han-bin, or if I'm being really harsh, Yang has been. He parried across straight into the middle of the goal, and the midfielder Han was just straight into his path, and he tapped it in for his 6th of the season. I don't know, like the keeper he had the right idea in diving for it, but you've got to hold that, or you've got to get some serious, get your fists on it rather than a flappy hand on it. You've got to deal with that, or you stay on. Okay, I'm not a goalkeeping expert. I'm just looking at it as a layman. But if he stays on his goal line and it comes across, I think his defender clears it, and if he doesn't, at least he can react to a striker getting a touch on it. So the keeper again there has to take majority of the blame for that goal. The defenders could do better in stopping the cross in the first place, but it wasn't confident keeping. He wasn't there to collect the ball. It wasn't great, and then it was just all Jeonbuk. Even at 1, you just knew FC Seoul weren't coming back into this. And it was just Jeonbuk the rest of the half, and they doubled their lead virtually the last kick of the game. Last kick of the half. Lee Seung-gi sweeping in a cutback from Lee Yong. Comfortable, deserved halftime lead. And I guess that the manager saw it that way as well. And so he brought on one of his new signings, Gustavo, at halftime. You don't always get halftime substitutions, but that's what he did. And instant impact for the new man. He loved it as well, getting a goal for a striker so early on in your career at a new club. It's monkey off the back, and hit the ground running. And it was a good header, free header, obviously, from no defending from FC Seoul. When the cross came in, he was in a lot of space. By the time he actually did get the head on, there was a defender put a bit of pressure on him, but nothing that would put off a top-level striker. He did well to keep it under the bar. That was probably the hardest thing about it, is because he was slightly falling back when he actually got his head on it. So it was good to keep it down under the bar. Went in and had a nice little celebration with some of the subs. I think it was a fortnight celebration. It was the one that Griezmann was using during the World Cup. Or that season anyway. So I think maybe that's how he's made friends at the club. He plays children's computer games with them. But and it wasn't the only debutant. Mo Barrow, obviously a guy who played in the Premier League and Championship over here with Swansea and Reading. He came on in the second half. He will have enjoyed his debut, had a bit of space to run into. He had one half chance. It was a good run from him. He ran into the box from the wing. Probably could have got a shot away, and you reckon maybe if he was up to full fitness, he might have done. But in the end, he was closed out, didn't get the shot off. I mean, it's too early to make any big statements about either of them, and especially considering they were playing FC Seoul, who were not very good. But they did what they could when they came on, decent debuts, and adds a bit of experience and a bit of quality to the Jeonbuk squad. Just, and they need that right now. Obviously, Veldvik didn't work out for them, so they've shipped him off to Suwon FC in K2 and replaced him with what looked like a couple of good players.
Yeah, you took the question right out of my mouth, so to speak. I mean, it was only one half, so it'd be interesting to see what Gustavo can do for them rather. But I guess it shows that they are clinical when they need to be. And Veldvik, I don't know if he got a. I mean, do you think he got a fair crack of the whip? Veldvik, he has been involved in a lot of games, but often
no, not at all. I think it was. I don't know. I guess he's an experienced manager. He didn't like what he saw in training because he did not give him a run in the team. He started very few games, a couple of cup games. I think maybe a league game off the top of my head, but he didn't get a fair go. But you just assume that the managers and the coaches see him in training and didn't think he deserved it either. So be interesting to see how he does with Suwon.
Yeah, and just coming back to Jeonbuk, if Gustavo can carry on that form, that's going to make the title. Well, it's already an interesting title race, but Jeonbuk just getting some more firepower could make it really neck and neck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if they can start banging goals in 2-3 a game regularly, then they'll win more games than they lose. Obviously, well, they're always going to win more games than they lose, but they'll pick up a lot of points, and Ulsan will feel the pressure.
And Jeonbuk lagging a bit in the goal scoring stakes. Ulsan has scored 32 goals, Jeonbuk only 21, which is less than Pohang and Daegu. So we'll see how that goes. Your final score there: Jeonbuk 3, Seoul 0. Jeonbuk stay second and Seoul stay 11th. Moving on to Pohang Steelers versus Incheon United. Pohang 4th and motoring, 4 wins and a draw in their last 5. Incheon 12th, but coming off 2 draws against 2 of the other Power 5 teams. Could Incheon get another? Yes, they could.
So, Incheon coming up with a point again, and they still haven't got that first win, but when they're playing these teams like Pohang, a point must feel like a win for a squad which were so low on confidence just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it will be, and they deserve to get something out of this game, to be honest. I caught this one. Incheon were pretty good for the first 10-15 minutes, probably the better team. They took the lead just before the half-hour mark. Penalty, which was put away by Mugosa. The Incheon attacker, Jeon Hak, I think it was, kind of dribbled the ball into the right-hand side of the box, so it wasn't really in a dangerous area. But the Pohang left-back, Kim Sang-won, it kind of hung a leg out, but then brought it back. First thought when I saw it live was that it was a bit soft. I didn't think there was really a foul there, but on replay you could see that there was contact, and the referee was in exactly where he should have been. But the way it worked out is the angle he had was the angle from which it most looked like a penalty. So it was an understandable decision from the referee, and VAR didn't call him over to have a look, so VAR didn't see a problem with it. It was still a bit soft, but it was a penalty.
Yeah, it looked to me. Did look to me.
So I think that was fair enough. And that seemed to wake Pohang up, and they really bust the rest of the first half. And just a few minutes later, they equalised through Ilyuchenko. Lee Kwang-hyuk on the right-hand side for Pohang. I haven't really seen too much of him, and I looked at the stats, and he's mainly been used as a substitute. Left-footed, wide attacker, great balance, good at taking people on. But just a bit before this, he'd got into a really good position, cutting into the box. And Incheon had difficulty dealing with him in the first half, and Lee probably should have shot, but he pulled it back to Ilyuchenko. And then Ilyuchenko, his shot was blocked. And then kind of carbon copy situation. But this time Ilyuchenko scored, and that made it 1-1. And at this point, it looked only a matter of time, really, before Pohang got a second and potentially a third. But Incheon did well to hold out to half-time at 1-1. Palacios also looked good in that first half. But then in the second half...
Martin, just before you get on to the second half, we watched the game separately, but we obviously chat and message during them. And message you sent to both myself and Yumi at half time was that you very much saw Pohang going on to win this. Like they were dominating. So what happened in the second half?
Well, it's just all down to Incheon, really. They regrouped and they seem to have got some newfound resilience. They're making fewer errors. That's one definite improvement. And they also looked dangerous in attack at times. And the second half was very even. Mugosa heading wide for Incheon. Also, really good effort from Incheon for Kim Do-hyuk. He hit the crossbar. That could easily have gone in because the keeper was beaten. But then Pohang could have almost grabbed 3 points in injury time. The substitute Nam Jun-jae fired at the keeper when he probably could have done better. But yeah, a draw was a fair result. Palacios was again good for Pohang. Seems to be getting better with each game, I think. And got to remember, this is his first full season in K1. He transferred to the Steelers after a good season for K2 side FC Anyang.
It looked like he was coming off an injury as well at the beginning of the season, so maybe we were being a little bit harsh on him early doors.
I think so. I mean, I was certainly harsh on him, so maybe that was a bit unfair, really, because he has been good playing in that central role while Palacevic has been out. But Lee Kwang-hyuk, he was the player who impressed me most in that first half. Got the assist for Pohang, could have got a couple more goals or assists. But yeah, second half, Pohang will feel they probably should have had enough to win it because they're Pohang. They've got a great attack, but some real fighting spirit from Incheon, I thought. No luck about today's results. And looking back at the last 3 games, that's now 3 points from 3 games against Sangju, Jeonbuk and Pohang. And if you said before that run, these 3 games coming up, 3 points, would you take that? They definitely would have taken that. And that's a really good return from them. And they've got a couple of huge games coming up next. We touched on Gwangju next week, but then they've got Songnam the week after that. So the first win could be in sight.
Yeah, could be. Let's hope it's at Gwangju and not at Songnam.
Your final score there, Pohang 1, Incheon 1. For Pohang, a point is enough for them to overtake Sangju and go up to 3rd on goals scored. And Incheon stay 12th, but they're clawing back the ground. So
they are, slowly but surely. They're picking up points, and I'm not sure when I'm going to predict it, but there might be an Incheon win prediction coming at some point in the next few weeks. And I think they will win a game soon. Yumi will be pleased to hear that. And, you know, you said Sangju, Jeonbuk, Pohang, they'll be happy to get 3 points from that. Well, most Incheon fans will be. Yumi was expecting 9.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I don't think she's your everyday Incheon fan. Or maybe she is. Maybe they are that optimistic.
Yeah, that's it. And the turnaround, we didn't really touch on this very much, but if at all, but a few weeks ago, there was, do you remember that open letter from the Incheon fans to the team? Basically, tell us about that letter, Tom.
Well, I can't remember the exact wording. It was obviously, there was a Korean version and then there was a translated one going around. It was just basically the fans saying something along the lines of, it doesn't look like you're trying, you know, and you have a bit more pride in the shirt. That kind of stuff, you know, you get it from, I think there was something similar at West Ham here earlier in the season. It's that kind of thing, you know, instead of a protest walking from your usual pub to your usual seat in the stadium, it was actually writing to the team. And it was the language used, especially when you saw it in Korean, it was quite emotional, quite emotive about, you know, this team means a lot to us and you're not giving us anything. Let's, you know, you need to show a bit more heart, a bit more desire. And in fairness, they have done since then. Whether that was a message from the fans, you know, I don't imagine for a second the players weren't trying, but I don't know, if it just gives you that extra 1%, that could be all the difference, you know, marginal gains. And it certainly didn't seem to do them any harm anyway.
Moving on to Daegu FC versus Busan iPark. Daegu were in 5th, 2 losses in a row, albeit against teams that were 1st and 3rd in the league. Busan were in 6th, 3 wins and 3 draws, had established the K1 newcomers as a decent mid-table team. First game in a tough run for them that will see them play Ulsan and Sangju after Daegu. Tom, how did they get on here?
Well, for anybody who follows us on Twitter, they will have seen not just mine, I think our feelings. I think it's fair to say the whole team here, our feelings on this. And you know, we had a little chat with Daegu fans and Busan fans about this as well. And so let's get it straight. There's absolutely not saying here that Daegu didn't deserve to win. Daegu deserved to win this. Busan were pretty awful, and there's no question about that. But Daegu's opening goal, and the first goal is always so important in a game. It is just ludicrous refereeing how this was allowed to happen, and it's kind of embarrassing on the referee. My perspective is the referee should have given the decision in play rather than waiting for VAR. But I'll just take it back and talk you through it. So it's a good finish from Damjanovic. Dayan, good goal, give him that. Good finish. No issue there. The issue there was a clear foul in the build-up. The Busan defender was bringing it out of defence. Ball got away from him a little bit, and it was Ryu Jae-moon, I think it was, from Daegu. Apologies if I got that wrong. I'm pretty sure it was Jae-moon who came in. It was a clear foul. Like, it was a clear foul. Didn't get the ball. Took the man out. Ball fell to a Daegu player, who then put it in behind the fullback, who was now lying on the floor. And the cross came in. Daejan, first time finish. There, fine. Cross, finish, good. It was a foul. It was just so clearly a foul, and the referee is 10 metres away from it, looking straight at it, and somehow he doesn't give it. Think, all right, that is a howler. That's not, like, in cricketing terms, umpire's call. This is just a pure and simple howler. So VAR tells him to go and look at the monitor, because he's going to take one look at it, decide, yeah, this is a foul, no goal, 0-0, Busan's still in the game. Problem here is he goes to a monitor, and the monitor, from the Korean commentary and from what I was seeing, the monitor was not working. And
no way.
Yeah, and like, he spent 4 or 5 minutes at the monitor. I think they scored the goal, and it was the 7th minute. By the time they kicked off, we were into the 11th or 12th minute of it, which is just ridiculous. And the VAR should be for the howler, not to, like, double check every goal for something the referee should have got on field. This is the big issues I have here. Is one, the monitor not working is farcical. Did he call IT? Did he turn it on? Did he turn it off again? Who knows? But he stood there for ages. Ref looks a bit silly. The whole system looks a bit silly. A lot of money goes into it, wasted, obviously. And two, the ref should have just given it live. He shouldn't be using VAR for this. That's not what it's for. VAR is for something that he can't see because it's happened behind him. There's 3 or 4, because you got the assistant referees and the 4th official. There's 4 officials. How, if the referee doesn't see it, then the linesman needs to get that. And if neither of them get it, then you have the VAR come in. It's just ridiculous. And look, I'm not saying Busan would have got anything from the game anyway, but it's annoying, and it's tough to take for them, because their players knew it was a free kick. They knew it was a foul. It's going to be a bit, it's going to get you down a little bit. But anyway, Busan were in control from then on, and they scored a completely legit second goal. And saying it's Route 1 football, I don't think is fair to the goal, because it was, if you imagine Edison at Man City, it was his style of pass. It was such a good pass from Gu Sung-yun to Sessegnon, who controlled it brilliantly, and it was like his shoulder, the top of his chest, one touch, and then curled in a great finish. So it's quality, but it was a simple goal if you've got a goalkeeper who can pick out an 80-yard pass like that, which obviously not all goalkeepers can, and not all goalkeepers are expected to do that. Edison is such a good keeper because he can do that. It's not a common thing. So credit to the keeper there, because it was a brilliant pass.
It certainly was. And Gu, he's not the first keeper to get an assist in K1 this season. Pohang's Kang Hyun-moon got an assist earlier on, so they're top of the K1 goalkeeper assist charts, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can pick a pass out like that, you do add something to your team, because you can just bypass 10 players. And all right, Sessegnon had a man on him, and he still has to score a brilliant goal. But sometimes going long, and it's not direct. I would call that a long pass rather than Route 1 direct football. I jokingly said, imagine a mix between Wimbledon, 1980s, 1990s Wimbledon, and then the 2000s Pep team. But it was much more Guardiola style than Wimbledon hitting Big John up front.
And I got a bit of stick on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, because I was talking about the Pohang keepers kit, which is this weird shade of lilac. And then this guy who looks like he's a Brazilian fitness coach and used to work in the Chinese league. This is so 2020. And then he just tweeted me back saying, I don't follow him, he doesn't follow me, he just tweeted back saying he thought there were more important comments to be said. So I went to try and find what stats I could, and that's when I found the Kang assist stat, and I found out that he's got more assists than Kim Bo-kyung, Ko Mu-yeol, Moon Sun-min, Adam Taggart, Felipe Souza put together, and now he's joined on one assist by Gu Sang-yeon.
There you go. So if you're listening, Brazilian Chinese fitness coach Martin knows his stuff, but he doesn't like a lilac kit. So
yeah,
anyway, in the second half, Busan went down to 10 men for 2 bookings for Park Jung-gang. 6 minutes apart between them is just, it's stupid from the Busan man. You know, they were both yellow cards. Nothing terrible, but 2 bookings. But to do the second one 6 minutes after you've been booked, it's just stupidity, really. And Daegu took advantage straight away. 2 minutes later, Ryu Jae-mun heading in. It was a good goal, good header. Really good header to him, to be fair. But you know, you got the extra space with the opposition down, and you make the most of it, which they did. Daegu had a man sent off, Kim Woo-sok, in injury time. Now, my first reaction live was, that's a bit harsh. You know, he slipped rather than made a tackle that he got booked for. But there's a couple of guys on Twitter who are obviously much bigger Daegu fans and paying more attention, and they saw a couple of the replays, and their opinion, both of them, was that even if he hadn't slipped, he was gonna make the foul anyway. And in the 93rd minute, it was kind of, you give the referee a choice. So I'll go with them on that, because I'd say I only saw it once. I didn't see the replays, but yeah, it was like, it's one of those where it's unnecessary for the player. And I don't know, maybe as a referee, you can hold a yellow card back when it's in the 93rd minute and nothing much to be gained. But you know, referees don't think like that, do they? Referees think by the letter of the law. And you know, if a couple of the Daegu fans who follow every second of every game are saying it was a second yellow deserved, then I'll go along with them on that. So fair enough. But this was just what Daegu needed after 2 league defeats on the bounce and cup exits on penalties. It was a rather easy win against a pretty passive Busan. You know, to be frank, they didn't offer much threat going forward. Had a fair chunk of possession, but never once looked like scoring. And I think, again, it was the same kind of thing. We see it on social media. There's a few fans who are quite active on there, and they were saying the same kind of thing. You know, the first goal was ludicrous, and everybody, even the Daegu fans, we all agreed it was absolutely ludicrous, but it didn't make any difference in the grand scheme of things.
Very good. Your final score there, of course, Daegu 3, Busan 0. Daegu stay 5th, but Busan drop to 7th. Right, how did we do in our predictions? Well, Tom with 4, which is good going. I think anything better than 3, I think, is a good return. I think 3 is par. Yumi also with 4, and I got 2 this week. So I need to improve my prediction game. But Tom moves on to 37 for the season. I'm on 34. Yumi's on 31. In terms of the league table, it feels like we're getting a few tiers separating out now. So in the top, you've got what I've been calling the Power 5, if you like. You've got Ulsan top of the table by 3 points from Jeonbuk. Gap of 5 points down to Pohang and Sangju, who are level on points, just separated by goals scored. And completing the top 5 is Daegu, who are just 2 points behind them. They now seem to be pulling away a bit, and you've kind of got feels like a mid-table of just 2 teams. Those teams being Gangwon and Busan in 6th and 7th. They're better than the rest, but not as good as the top 5.
I still don't think Busan are better than the rest. I'm not sold on them. They didn't show up today, and I don't think they've done that an awful lot. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Busan.
I seem to go up and down on them. I think I'm a bit more positive on them than you are, but I have been frustrated by them at times. But they occupy 7th as it stands, and then beneath them you've got Songnam, Suwon, Gwangju, and Seoul separated by 4 points. Incheon, of course, still bottom by 5, but they've caught up 3 points on Seoul and 2 points on Gwangju over recent games. So, yeah, that could really make things interesting if they could pick up a win in one of their next few games. Looking at the race for the Golden Boot, Ulsan's junior, of course, Negrao on 17, and he's plundered those from 13 games, which is ridiculous. Pohang Ziluchenko, he's gone up to 10. And Daegu's Cecilia also added to his tally. He's now on 8. Gwangju's Felipe on 6. And also on 6 is Sangju's Kang Sang-woo. He also has 4 assists, which puts him second in the assist charts. And he's emerged as a key player in this Sangju success story. All right, let's look ahead now to game week 14. Some nice looking games coming up next weekend. No Friday games, so let's start off with Saturday. Jeonbuk versus Pohang. Jeonbuk in second, back to winning ways after 2 draws and a loss. Pohang in third, unbeaten in. Tom, how do you see this one going?
I was edging towards a draw with this, but I think I'm going to stick with a Jeonbuk win. Pohang could get a draw, could even get a win as well. I think all 3 results are on the cards here, but I will say Jeonbuk win just because I think they've added a bit of a cutting edge to their team with their signings, and I think it'll be close. And one thing I would say, though, is midweek cup games will play a part in this. And that's probably why I'm just edging for Jeonbuk, because I think they have a bigger squad and they're better suited to 3 games in 7 days, whereas I don't think Pohang have an awful lot outside of their first 11.
Yumi?
I'm going for a Jeonbuk win on this one. I think they're favourites, but I think it's going to be a difficult one on our good side. But Jeonbuk win, narrow win.
How good a Jeonbuk from corners? That seems to be the deciding factor, I think, with Pohang. But yeah, I've gone for a draw. Okay, also on Saturday is Songnam versus FC Seoul. Songnam are in 8th, coming off a win and 2 draws. Seoul are 11th, 3 straight losses since their crazy 3-3 super match versus Suwon Blue Wings. Seoul really need to start picking up points. Can they get anything here?
I think they will get a draw here, and I think it will be another ball draw. Let's go 0-0, 1-1 again. I think it's not being a genius, hedging my bets here. I just think that Seoul don't look great going forward. They're not going to score many goals, and Songnam are decent at the back and not going to concede many goals. And maybe, I don't know, it could be a 1-0 win to either side, but I'll predict a 0-0.
I'm going to predict Songnam Seoul. It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think a draw for me as well. I mean, Seoul aren't playing that well, but Songnam, they're not very well at the moment either. So, or draw, I think, or draw.
Yeah, full house draw for me too. The third game on Saturday, Incheon United at home to Gwangju FC. Incheon are in 12th, but they're coming off 3 good draws against 3 of the top 5 teams in K1. Gwangju are in 10th. They had 3 wins on the bounce in game weeks 5, 6, and 7, which seems like a long time ago now because it's been all losses and 1 draw since then. So they are starting to spiral downwards a bit. Tom, Incheon surely got to get a win here.
Well, in my notes that I'm reading right now, I've written draw. But you know what? After what you've just said, Incheon for the win.
Yay! Incheon for the win, of course, every week for me.
And I've gone for an Incheon win as well. So, yeah,
Finally.
fingers crossed for the Nerazzurri.
I know, unfortunately for Yumi now, if Incheon do get a win and she's predicting this for 13 games straight, she's not going to get any extra points compared to us. But yeah, no,
Exactly.
From what we saw today and from those stats you just read about Gwangju and their awful form at the minute, it does point to an Incheon win.
Moving on to Sunday, Gangwon versus Sangju Sangmu.
Thank you.
Gangwon are in 6th. They've been slightly better defensively in their last 3 games. They had that little string of losses a little way back. Sangju are in 4th, looking to bounce back from their humbling by Ulsan. Can they do that here, Tom?
It's a hard one to call this for me, actually, but having watched the Gangwon v Songnam game, Gangwon had no creativity, and they were pretty dull to watch, actually, which they haven't been at the beginning of the season. So something's going a bit wrong with them at the minute. Sangju, I think they're going to get an absolute hammering from their manager, Kim Tae-won. He's going to demand a better performance from them in the next game. So I'm going to go with an away win for Sangju here, purely because I think they are not going to have a fun week in training.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes Sangju win as well. I don't think Gangwon is playing very well. I think Sangju has enough to beat them.
No, Gangwon was so boring, so poor against Songnam. Something's gone wrong with
what
them.
What happened to Byung-soo Ball?
I know, yeah. Jeongsu Ball's, Jeongsu no ball at the minute.
Yeah, I've gone for a Sangju away win there as well. Suwon Blue Wings versus Daegu. Suwon are in 9th. This is the first game in their mini gauntlets of 3 tough matches. A real test of the new manager bounce. Daegu are in 5th. They are back to winning ways after a couple of losses. How's this one going to go?
It's going to go to Daegu for me. They played some good football today, and the key, I think, is that they do not have a cup game, unlike Suwon, so freshness will work in their favour. You've got to remember, it is super hot and humid in Korea right now, so getting a week's rest between games instead of 3 days is huge, and Suwon don't have that massive squad to rotate, so it will be a lot of the same players playing in the cup who play on the weekend. I think that just makes it a pretty comfortable Daegu win.
Yeah, no question. I put a Daegu win as well for this one.
Yeah, Daegu for me too, I think, with that one. And final game of the weekend, Busan iPark versus Ulsan Hyundai. Busan are in 7th, and they're also on a tough run of 3 matches at the moment. Ulsan are in 1st, and Ulsan are just Ulsan, and that surely means 3 points for the Tigers, right?
Yeah, Ulsan are very good. Busan are not. Simple.
Yeah, no question. Ulsan. Yeah.
Ulsan for me too. So that means our predictions are virtually the same, I think, all the way through, apart from the Jeonbuk Pohang game. So we'll see how that goes.
Have you heard about Korean fan attendance? They might be allowing 10% again.
Oh, really? That's brilliant. So, do you
Yeah,
have a date for that
it's not
one?
completely confirmed, but they've started it in baseball. They've had their first match with 10% in, so they're slowly trying to do it for football as well. Hopefully, maybe not this season, but slowly.
Oh, that's great. That's really good news. That to hear. And I don't know. I'm not a huge baseball fan. I've been to a few games in Korea.
Yeah.
But have you got a baseball team, Yumi?
I went to a few games just because I lived right by the stadium, but it was SK Incheon.
So you're a Wyvern. So you're Incheon football and baseball. The baseball team.
Only because I lived right there, and the teachers at the school I was working at, they were all baseball fans. So every weekend it's like, let's go Wyverns.
I have no idea if it's still true, but I know a few years ago anyway, the Wyverns were very good. So I guess when you chose them, you chose one good Incheon team and one bad Incheon team.
True. I think when I was there, they were champions, the baseball team. So balance it out.
Yeah, I never had a baseball team. I went to a few LG Twins and Busan Bears games because they were in.
It's a lot of fun though because of the whole culture.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I just went for
the cheerleaders.
sport. Get some chicken, have some beer, watch a bit of sport.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They've got chants for every single player. I don't know how they memorize all of it. A different song for each and every player and the manager.
Yeah, it was good fun. So it's good to hear that they've got some crowds back in, and hopefully that bodes well for the K-League too. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Some good chat there. That is our Game Week 13 pod done and dusted. Tom, Yumi, thank you very much. 감사합니다. Thanks, Martin. Lovely to see you. Yumi, enjoy the game.
Thank you.
감사합니다 to you two listeners. And you can stay up to speed with us on social media at Gazzetta Korea on Twitter. As I mentioned, we're also on YouTube, where we host the video version of these podcasts, and we're on Facebook as well. In the meantime, stay subscribed to the podcast, and we look forward to catching up with you next weekend for some more K-League action.